Ever felt like you were living in a gilded cage? Ethan, heir to a vast fortune, yearned for genuine love, not just gold diggers. His billionaire father, Richard, took matters into his own hands by becoming the gardener. Disguised as Mr. Finch, he infiltrates Ethan's life to find him the perfect wife. But will his secret be exposed? Will Ethan find true love? And what happens when the woman Ethan falls for gets close to Mr. Finch? Get ready for romance secrets and a twist you won't see coming. Ethan Sterling, heir to the vast Sterling fortune, lived a life of unparalleled luxury. His penthouse apartment overlooked the city. His wardrobe was filled with designer labels, and his social calendar was a whirlwind of exclusive parties and exotic vacations. Yet beneath the veneer of privilege, Ethan felt a gnawing emptiness. His relationships were fleeting. His friends often felt like opportunists, and the weight of his father's expectations pressed heavily upon him. He longed for genuine connection, for someone who loved him for who he was, not his family name or his bank account. He just didn't know how to find her. His father, Richard Sterling, a man of formidable wealth and even more formidable will, watched his son's listless existence with growing concern. He had built his empire from the ground up, instilling in Ethan the importance of hard work and integrity. But somewhere along the way, Ethan had become lost in the trappings of wealth. Surrounded by people who only saw dollar signs, Richard knew his son needed a partner who would ground him, someone who would love him unconditionally. He decided a drastic measure was needed. Richard devised a plan, a scheme so audacious it bordered on the absurd. He would disappear from the public eye, feigning a long vacation abroad. In reality, he would assume the identity of Mr. Finch, a humble gardener, and infiltrate the social circles Ethan frequented. He would observe the women who surrounded his son, discerning their true motives and identifying someone worthy of Ethan's love. It was a risky gamble, a complete reversal of his accustomed life, but Richard was determined. He believed it was the only way to save his son from a life of superficiality and loneliness. He meticulously crafted his new persona. He traded his tailored suits for worn work clothes, his expensive watch for a simple timepiece, and his polished demeanor for a quiet, observant air. He rented a small, unassuming cottage near Ethan's estate, a stark contrast to the opulent mansions that dotted the neighborhood. He began his transformation, not just physically but mentally, preparing himself for a life of anonymity and subtle manipulation. Ethan was surprised to find a new gardener, tending to the sprawling grounds of his estate. Mr. Finch was a quiet, unassuming man with calloused hands and a gentle smile. He seemed content in his work, humming softly as he pruned the roses and trimmed the hedges. Ethan, used to dealing with obsequious staff, found Mr. Finch's lack of pretense refreshing. He started to engage him in conversation, discussing everything from the weather to the stock market. He found himself drawn to Mr. Finch's wisdom and down-to-earth perspective. Mr. Finch, in turn, listened patiently to Ethan's musings, offering subtle advice and insightful observations. He never pried, never judged, simply offered a listening ear and a steady presence. He observed Ethan's interactions with the women who drifted in and out of his life, noting their reactions to his wealth, their shallowness, and their lack of genuine interest in Ethan as a person. His initial observations were disheartening. Ethan's life was a constant stream of social events. Galas, fundraisers, and exclusive parties filled his calendar. Mr. Finch, in his role as gardener, was privy to these gatherings. Observing from the periphery, he watched as women flocked to Ethan, drawn by his wealth and status. He heard their vapid conversations, their thinly veiled attempts to impress him, and their blatant disregard for anyone less fortunate. His heart ached for his son, trapped in a world of superficiality. He saw women who were beautiful but cruel, charming but manipulative, and ambitious but heartless. They saw Ethan as a prize to be won, a ticket to a life of luxury. None of them seemed to see the real Ethan, the sensitive, intelligent man beneath the facade of wealth. Mr. Finch's search for a suitable partner for his son was proving to be much more challenging than he anticipated. Amidst the sea of superficiality, Mr. Finch noticed a different kind of woman. Sarah, a young art curator, was unlike the others. She wasn't overtly impressed by Ethan's wealth, nor did she try to impress him with her social connections. She engaged him in genuine conversations about art, literature, and the world around them. She seemed genuinely interested in his thoughts and feelings, not his bank account. Mr. Finch observed Sarah closely, noting her kindness, her intelligence, and her genuine compassion for others. He saw her interacting with the staff, treating them with respect and dignity. He saw her volunteering at a local soup kitchen, her hands dirty but her spirit bright. A flicker of hope ignited within him. Could Sarah be the one? Ethan found himself drawn to Sarah's quiet confidence and genuine passion for art. He'd never met anyone who spoke about art with such fervor, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. He started spending more time with her, visiting art galleries and discussing different artistic movements. He discovered a shared intellectual curiosity, a connection that went beyond superficial attraction. He found himself looking forward to their conversations, eager to hear her perspectives on life and art. Mr. Finch, observing from a distance, was pleased with the budding connection. He saw Sarah's genuine interest in Ethan, not his money. He witnessed their stimulating conversations, their shared laughter, and the subtle glances they exchanged. He felt a growing sense of hope that Sarah might be the answer to his prayers. One afternoon, Ethan found Mr. Finch tending to the rose garden, his brow furrowed in concentration. He sat down beside him, curious about his pensive mood. Mr. Finch, sensing Ethan's presence, shared a parable about a rose bush that bloomed beautifully, but was surrounded by thorns. He spoke of the importance of looking beyond the surface, of appreciating the beauty within, despite the challenges that might surround it. Ethan pondered Mr. Finch's words, realizing the parallels to his own life. He had been surrounded by beautiful women, but their beauty was often superficial, masking a lack of depth and genuine connection. He began to see Sarah in a new light, appreciating her inner beauty, her kindness, and her genuine passion for life. Sarah, while visiting Ethan's estate, stumbled upon Mr. Finch's small cottage. She was intrigued by the simplicity of his life, so different from the opulence of Ethan's mansion. She struck up a conversation with Mr. Finch, discovering his love for gardening and his insightful observations about human nature. She found herself drawn to his wisdom and his gentle demeanor. During one of their conversations, Sarah confided in Mr. Finch about her struggles to make a living as an art curator. Mr. Finch, in turn, shared his own story of starting from humble beginnings, emphasizing the importance of hard work and perseverance. A bond formed between them, a shared understanding of the challenges of life. Ethan's friends, accustomed to his dating superficial socialites, were surprised by his interest in Sarah. They whispered behind his back, questioning her motives, suggesting she was after his money. Their doubts and insinuations began to creep into Ethan's mind, creating a seed of uncertainty. He started to question Sarah's intentions, wondering if she was truly different from the other women he had dated. Mr. Finch, sensing Ethan's hesitation, subtly steered their conversations towards topics of trust and loyalty. He shared stories of people who had been betrayed by those they trusted, emphasizing the importance of discerning true character. He encouraged Ethan to trust his own instincts, to look beyond the whispers of doubt and see Sarah for who she truly was. Richard, as Mr. Finch, devised a subtle test to gauge Sarah's character. He feigned an injury, claiming he had fallen while gardening. Sarah immediately rushed to his aid, tending to his injuries with genuine concern. She offered to help him with his chores, refusing to leave his side until she was sure he was all right. Richard was deeply touched by Sarah's compassion and selflessness. He saw her genuine concern for his well-being, her willingness to help without expecting anything in return. He knew then that she was truly a good person, someone worthy of his son's love. Ethan, observing Sarah's genuine concern for Mr. Finch, felt a wave of guilt for his earlier doubts. He realized how easily he had been swayed by the opinions of others, how he had allowed their cynicism to cloud his judgment. He saw Sarah's kindness, her compassion, and her genuine interest in people, regardless of their social standing. He knew in his heart that she was different from the women he had dated before. He started spending more time with Sarah, not just at social events, but in quiet moments, sharing their thoughts and dreams. He discovered a shared love for nature, for quiet evenings spent reading, and for meaningful conversations that went beyond superficial pleasantries. He was falling in love with her, not just for her beauty, but for her soul. Mr. Finch, his injury miraculously healed, presented Sarah with a rare and beautiful rose, a variety he had cultivated himself. He spoke of the rose's resilience, its ability to thrive even in challenging conditions, symbolizing the strength and beauty he saw in her. Sarah was touched by the gesture, recognizing the deeper meaning behind the gift. She accepted the rose with gratitude, cherishing its beauty and its symbolic significance. Ethan, witnessing this exchange, felt a pang of jealousy, a strange protectiveness over Sarah. He realized how much he cared for her, how much he didn't want to lose her. He resolved to put aside his doubts and insecurities and pursue his relationship with Sarah with all his heart. Ethan organized a private viewing at the art gallery where Sarah worked, showcasing her curatorial skills and her passion for art. He invited his friends and colleagues, eager to show them the woman who had captured his heart. Sarah, initially nervous about being in the spotlight, shone brightly, her enthusiasm and knowledge captivating the guests. Mr. Finch, observing from a distance, was proud of Sarah's poise and confidence. He saw how she commanded the room, not with her social connections or her wealth, but with her intelligence and her genuine passion for art. He knew that Ethan had made the right choice. During the gallery event, one of Ethan's friends, still skeptical of Sarah's intentions, decided to do some digging into her background. He discovered that Sarah came from a modest family, that she had worked hard to get where she was, and that she had never sought the spotlight or the trappings of wealth. He shared this information with Ethan, hoping to sow seeds of doubt. Ethan, however, was unfazed. He had already learned enough about Sarah's character to know that she was genuine and sincere. He dismissed his friend's insinuations, reaffirming his trust in Sarah and his commitment to their relationship. Ethan, finally free from his doubts and insecurities, decided to confess his love for Sarah. He took her to a secluded spot in his garden, a place where they could be alone, surrounded by the beauty of nature. He spoke of his admiration for her, his appreciation for her kindness and intelligence, and his deep and abiding love for her. Sarah, her heart overflowing with joy, confessed her own love for Ethan. She admitted that she had been hesitant at first, unsure of his feelings and wary of his wealth, but that she had come to realize that he was a good and genuine man, someone she could trust and love. Ethan and Sarah's newfound happiness was soon tested. Ethan's social circle, accustomed to his previous flings with socialites, couldn't understand his genuine affection for Sarah. They gossiped, spread rumors, and attempted to undermine their relationship. Sarah, though hurt by their judgments, remained steadfast, drawing strength from Ethan's unwavering support. She refused to let their negativity taint her happiness. Ethan, protective of Sarah, distanced himself from those who couldn't accept their relationship. He realized that true friends valued him for who he was, not for his wealth or social connections. He found solace in Sarah's company, their love a beacon in the storm of societal disapproval. Sarah, while visiting Mr. Finch's cottage, noticed a striking resemblance between him and a portrait of Richard Sterling in a magazine. A seed of suspicion began to grow in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that Mr. Finch was more than just a gardener. His wisdom, his insightful observations, and his uncanny understanding of Ethan's life seemed to hint at a deeper connection. She subtly tried to probe Mr. Finch about his past, but he remained evasive, deflecting her questions with gentle humor and philosophical musings. Sarah, though intrigued, respected his privacy and decided not to push the matter further. Ethan, oblivious to Sarah's suspicions, decided to introduce her to his extended family. He hoped that his family would accept Sarah and see her for the wonderful person she was. However, the family gathering proved to be a mixed bag. Some family members were genuinely welcoming, while others were openly hostile, questioning Sarah's background and intentions. Mr. Finch, also present at the gathering, at Ethan's insistence, observed the dynamics with a heavy heart. He saw the prejudice and superficiality that permeated his family, a stark contrast to Sarah's genuine warmth and kindness. He realized that revealing his true identity would be even more complicated than he had anticipated. Ethan, disheartened by his family's reaction, sought Mr. Finch's counsel. He confided in him about his struggles to gain his family's acceptance of Sarah. Mr. Finch, listening patiently, offered words of wisdom, emphasizing the importance of staying true to oneself and following one's heart. He reminded Ethan that true happiness came from within, not from the approval of others. Ethan, taking Mr. Finch's words to heart, resolved to focus on his relationship with Sarah. Regardless of his family's opinions, he realized that Sarah's love and support were all that truly mattered. Sarah, still grappling with her suspicions about Mr. Finch, decided to do some research. She visited the local library and searched for information about Richard Sterling. She discovered that Richard had disappeared around the same time Mr. Finch had arrived. The timing seemed too coincidental. Her suspicions intensified. She found an old interview with Richard Sterling, where he spoke about the importance of family and the challenges of raising children in a world of wealth and privilege. Sarah was struck by the similarities between Richard's views and Mr. Finch's philosophical musings. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together. Sarah, poring over old newspaper articles and online archives, discovered a picture of Richard Sterling. The resemblance to Mr. Finch was undeniable. The same sharp eyes, the same strong jawline, the same subtle smile. The only difference was the attire and the carefully cultivated air of humility that Mr. Finch exuded. Sarah felt a mix of shock and excitement. Her suspicions were correct. Mr. Finch was Richard Sterling, Ethan's father. She wondered why Richard would disguise himself as a gardener. What was his motive? Why the elaborate charade? She knew she had to tell Ethan, but she also knew that the revelation would be a shock to him. She decided to proceed carefully, gathering more evidence before confronting him. Richard, as Mr. Finch observed Sarah's growing curiosity, he sensed that she was close to discovering his secret. He admired her intelligence and her persistence, qualities he knew were essential for a strong and capable woman. He also recognized her genuine love for Ethan. He knew the time was coming to reveal his true identity, but he wanted to do it in a way that would minimize the shock and maximize the understanding. He continued to offer Sarah subtle clues, dropping hints about his past, sharing anecdotes that mirrored Richard Sterling's known history. He wanted to give her the opportunity to piece the puzzle together herself, to arrive at the truth gradually, rather than being hit with a sudden revelation. Sarah, armed with her research and her observations, finally decided to confront Mr. Finch. She approached him in the garden, her heart pounding in her chest. She laid out her findings, presenting the evidence she had gathered, including the picture of Richard Sterling. Mr. Finch, no longer able to maintain the charade, admitted the truth. He was Richard Sterling. Sarah, though shocked, wasn't entirely surprised. Her suspicions had been growing for weeks. She listened intently as Richard explained his motives, his desire to find a genuine partner for his son, someone who loved him for who he was, not his wealth. She understood his intentions, even if she questioned his methods. Sarah, after her conversation with Richard, knew she had to tell Ethan the truth. She invited him to Mr. Finch's cottage, a place that had become significant to both of them. She shared her discovery, revealing Mr. Finch's true identity. Ethan was stunned. He couldn't believe that the kind, wise gardener he had come to respect was actually his own father. He felt a mix of emotions, betrayal, confusion, and a strange sense of understanding. He had always longed for a genuine connection with his father, and now he realized that his father had been closer than he thought, albeit in disguise. Ethan, after the initial shock, began to understand his father's actions. He realized that his father had acted out of love, a desire to protect him from the superficiality and opportunism that surrounded him. He understood his father's concern for his happiness and his longing for genuine connection. He confronted his father, not with anger, but with a mixture of confusion and gratitude. He questioned his methods, but he also acknowledged his good intentions. Richard, in turn, expressed his regret for the deception, admitting that he had underestimated his son's ability to find his own way. Ethan, while understanding his father's motives, still struggled with the weight of the deception. He felt a sense of betrayal, a feeling that his trust had been violated. He questioned the authenticity of his relationship with Mr. Finch, wondering if their connection had been based on a lie. He needed time to process the revelation, to reconcile the gardener he knew with the father he now understood. He confided in Sarah, sharing his confusion and hurt. Sarah, understanding his struggle, offered him comfort and support. She reminded him of the genuine connection they had forged with Mr. Finch, regardless of his true identity. She encouraged him to focus on the positive aspects of their relationship, to forgive his father's deception and embrace the opportunity for a deeper, more honest connection. News of Richard. Sterling's elaborate charade spread like wildfire through Ethan's social circle. The gossips, who had previously questioned Sarah's motives, now had a new target for their scrutiny. They whispered about Richard's deception, speculating about his intentions and questioning his sanity. Ethan, however, remained unfazed by their judgments. He knew the truth about his father's actions, and he refused to let the opinions of others dictate his feelings. He decided to address the rumors head-on, issuing a public statement acknowledging his father's deception and explaining his motives. He defended his father's actions, emphasizing his love and concern for his son's well-being. He also reaffirmed his love and commitment to Sarah, silencing the whispers about her intentions. Richard, humbled by his son's understanding and support, realized the extent of his deception and the hurt it had caused. He apologized to Ethan for his actions, expressing his regret for the pain he had inflicted. He acknowledged that he had underestimated his son's ability to navigate the complexities of his own life and relationships. Ethan, though still hurt, accepted his father's apology. He recognized the genuine remorse in his father's eyes and the sincerity of his words. He understood that his father had acted out of love, albeit misguided. He decided to forgive him and rebuild their relationship on a foundation of honesty and trust. The revelation of Richard's true identity brought about a significant shift in the Sterling family dynamics. Ethan's relationship with his father deepened, evolving from a superficial connection to a genuine bond of love and understanding. They spent more time together, sharing stories, discussing their dreams, and rebuilding the trust that had been broken. Richard also developed a closer relationship with Sarah, recognizing her as the strong, intelligent, and compassionate woman who had captured his son's heart. He admired her resilience, her kindness, and her genuine love for Ethan. He welcomed her into the family with open arms. The revelation of Richard's deception had a profound impact on Ethan's social circle. Many of his so-called friends, who had only been interested in his wealth and status, distanced themselves from him, fearing the repercussions of their past judgments. Ethan, however, wasn't bothered by their departure. He realized that they had never been true friends, only opportunists seeking to benefit from his wealth. He found solace in the company of his true friends, those who had accepted Sarah from the beginning and who valued him for who he was, not his family name or his bank account. He learned a valuable lesson about the true meaning of friendship and the importance of surrounding oneself with genuine people. Ethan and Sarah, having weathered the storm of their father's deception and the judgment of society, embarked on a new chapter in their lives. They moved away from the city, seeking a quieter, more peaceful existence. They found a charming cottage in a quaint village, surrounded by rolling hills and lush greenery. They built a life together, filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. They traveled the world, exploring new cultures and experiencing new adventures. They started a family, welcoming 2 children into their lives, filling their home with joy and laughter. They also maintained a close relationship with Richard, who had found a new sense of purpose in his life. He spent more time with his grandchildren, sharing his wisdom and his love. He also became involved in philanthropic work, using his wealth to make a positive impact on the world. Ethan and Sarah's love story was a testament to the power of true love, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of forgiveness and understanding. They had overcome the challenges of their past, emerging stronger and more united than ever. They lived happily ever after, surrounded by their loved ones, creating a legacy of love and compassion. So would you want your dad to play matchmaker? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more romantic tales with a twist. Click the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next upload. Love you all.